What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Why Are We Here? I'm your host, Spencer Crandall. Today on the pod, we have a friend. I just got to open up for her at Exit Inn in Nashville. It was incredible. I got to see her live show, and she's a freaking rock star, Florida native. Brooke Eden in the house.
Why are we here?
Brooke, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm so good, dude. How are you?
I'm wonderful. We were just talking before we started, and I just was like, you're just a great human. I'm just so glad I've gotten to hang out with you a little bit in the last couple weeks.
Back at you, Spencer. It's so funny, like kind of what you pick up on people just like over the internet, right?
Mhm.
And I remember seeing you on TikTok first and being like, this guy just seems like a sweetie. This guy just seems like a good dude.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then I heard you sing and I'm like, oh, shoot. JT, I always tell you this. You're like the JT of country. Just
you can't tell me that because I'll fall in love with you. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. So you can't tell me those
It's
things.
so great. It's so good. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
I mean, great voice and also good human. I mean, most importantly. So
I feel
yeah,
the same
back
way.
at you.
We got to play that show, which was so fun. Like just to play a show again. Oh my God. When was the last time you'd played a show before that show?
Well, I did a Pride Festival in LA like 2 months ago, but it was acoustic, so not with my full band.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a live, there was some people in the audience, but it was very socially distanced. And this was the first show that I've done with a full band and a full audience in real life. I mean, gosh, I'm trying to think. I think since January 1st of 2020.
Gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
How did it feel?
Man, it felt so good. It felt so good to be back on stage. And I think just, why we do what we do is to affect other people's lives and to hopefully like help their day or make their lives easier or make them realize that they're not alone. And when you're doing an Instagram live or a Facebook live, it's so much different than the actual energy that you receive back from the audience when you're in person.
Oh my gosh, so much. Like I remember during quarantine, I kind of had convinced myself that I'm like, maybe we just don't need to play live shows. Like I'll just do internet stuff and like you kind of don't have to leave your house. It's like safer and there's no judgment. And then you go play one show and there's this thing that gets unlocked. You're like, oh yeah, like you can't replicate this. The human to human, all synced up, feeling the same thing. It was awesome. And you brought out freaking Philip Sweet and you sang Girl Crush with a member of Little Big Town. That was incredible.
Oh my gosh. I remember when Girl Crush came out on the radio when I heard it for the first time and I was just like, oh my God. I can't believe this song exists. It's so good. It was written so well. And Little Big Town has always just been like one of my favorite bands. And then when I moved to town, started seeing them around at industry events, and every single time they are just the nicest people on the planet. And then I've recently gotten closer with Philip and Rebecca Sweet, and I just love them to pieces. Like, we always talk about how we have this kind of like soul connection. I'm like, I feel like we were brother and sister in a past life or something.
I love that. Well, he's got the blonde locks, so maybe you are related in some sort of past life.
Yeah, I think he's super Irish and I'm super Irish. So I think we probably are like somehow connected via DNA. But yeah, I just love them as humans, and they are truly probably my favorite band, like my favorite group that's ever existed. So good.
They are what I like to call like intimidatingly good. Like there's people who are like, they're good, and there's other people who are like, should I be doing this? Like they do it really well.
Totally.
Should I do this?
Yeah, I'm singing a song that Karen Fairchild sings. Like, should I be doing this?
Well, you
I don't
definitely
know,
should do that because you crushed it and it felt so good. And it was just one of those like things. I saw all the phones go up and was just such a fun moment. I was so glad I was there for that. And then my parents were at the Opry when Trisha Yearwood came out and sang with you.
No.
So my mom doesn't know that I'm going to be opening up for you in like whatever the weeks were prior to that.
Right.
And she texts me about the Opry and she's like, oh my God, it was so good. Like Lee Greenwood came out and sang with my other friends Home Free, sang like Proud to Be American. And she was telling me about this night and she's like, and then this young girl, she's out there, she was killing it. She was so good. This is my mom, by the way.
I love your mom voice.
Yes, it's very just lovely. And this is Sherry, in case Sherry's listening. And she was saying how crazy of a moment it was because you're like, how cool would it be if Trisha Yearwood was here to sing it? And then she came out and you guys sang it together. Like, what's that moment like? Did you grow up listening to her music? Was she influential on your music?
Spencer, you have no idea. I mean, everyone knows that Trisha Yearwood's thing on stage is she taps her hip. Like, to this day, that's like what she does.
I've never known this.
Oh,
Educate
watch
me.
any video from the 90s to the 2000s to now, and she's got this thing where she just keeps time on her hip. And let me tell you that I still do. I started doing that when I was like 9 years old because of Trisha Yearwood. I studied her voice when I was young, and I've always loved like how she has. It's so country, but she also sings. She has such power to her voice, like such soul. You believe everything
soul.
You believe everything that comes out of her mouth. So I've been a huge fan for my entire life. And my fiance, Hillary, works with Trisha and Garth Brooks.
That's right.
So it was so funny when she started working with them. You know, Garth is like the biggest artist, like literally the greatest selling artist of all time, including the Beatles and Michael Jackson and everybody. And, you know, everyone's so excited to meet Garth, which of course I was excited to meet Garth, but I was literally like crying, thinking about meeting Trisha, you know.
So sweet.
And this was like 4 or 5 years ago when Hillary started working with them. And, you know, over the last 5 years, we've built this relationship where we just all love each other. And to be, you know, close with icons, heroes of yours, and get to know them as humans and as people and realize that they're even better people than they are, than you could ever expect them to be.
Yeah,
you know, they're
that's
just
special.
the best.
That's what you want. You want Trisha Yearwood to be, because that's what we all think of her as, is like, she's always reminded me of like, especially this part of her career, like the mom of country music. When I think of her, I just feel like she's so inclusive and loving, and she has all the cooking and like all these things.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that she lives up to this reputation of like just being the kindest human of all time.
She's kind, but she's also just witty. Like, she's witty as hell.
I believe it.
Like, somebody will say something, she just always has these one-liners just on the tip of her tongue at all times. But yeah, I mean, that was the coolest thing. Got a phone call asking if I would want to sing She's in Love with a Boy with Trisha Yearwood on the Opry stage, but change it to She's in Love with the Girl. It was Pride Month. My fiance, Hillary, and I had just gotten engaged. And she was like, you know, Trisha was like, listen, ever since the making of this song, I've had people come up to me and be like, hey, don't tell anybody, but I sing She's in Love with the Girl, or I sing He's in Love with the Boy. And she was like, you know, if I can get up on stage and sing about my love every night, I would want anybody to be able to do that.
Yes.
So she was like, what do you think about doing it at the Opry? And my first response was like, are you sure? You know, like, my fans are all allies and so loving and supporting, but, you know, I just don't know. I just don't want to put you in a weird situation or something. And she was like, are you kidding? She's like, honey, this is country music. She's like, it's all about authenticity, and love is love. And we can't just say that. We got to mean it. We got to do something about it. And of course I just started sobbing and I'm like, yes, let's do it. So yeah, just such a cool experience to have an icon like Trisha not just say, hey, I'm an ally and I believe that love is love, but to really put action behind that and, you know, be a part of changing that song for so many people into their actual life, you know?
Well, I think what you said about authenticity in country music, like, that is what it's all about. And it wouldn't be country music if you were getting up there and like not using the pronouns you wanted to use. And I think it's so powerful. And especially right now, as we're in this interesting time as humanity, I think people like you are, one, just so freaking talented, but such a great example of like living your truth and doing it the right way. And like, you're just crushing it. I'm so happy for you, because that's such a great, it's a great moment for country music. I really believe that. Like, that's the kind of moment we need. We are slow to move. We are male. We are pale. We are stale. We are all the things that are like, we need to get with the program a little bit. And I think somebody like you, who's so like approachable and like reachable to a fan, and like you just seem so real and fun, it's you're the perfect person to go out there and sing your truth because people are like, how can I not like this? Like you're almost gonna piss the people off who don't want to believe that because they're like, damn it, I cannot like this person.
Oh, that's so nice. Well, I think that that's so much about the change that needs to happen in our world in general. Is for so long we've run away from things that are unknown to us or things that are unfamiliar to us and seen people who are different than us as someone that you should be afraid of.
Yeah.
And I think the more and more that we start blending as a society and not just hang out with people that are just like us, but have real life conversations with people who might be a little different than us. And then you realize that we're a whole lot more the same than we are different. And really just putting, a real person behind, the LGBTQ community. It's no longer just the stereotype of something. It's now a human.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And I think it's so powerful because it's one thing to just say like, we need more black people. But to have to look at Kane Brown and say like, you don't deserve it when he's Kane Brown and as talented as he is, or Mickey Guyton or Jim Brown, like you can't. And the humanization of people of color, of the LGBTQ plus community, that is how it's going to move forward, is just by putting real stories behind that instead of just saying, we need more black people on country radio. A lot of people be like, well, do we? Or whatever, if they're slow movers. But the second you say, no, but listen to this, they're a talented person and this is their story.
Yeah.
And they are just like you and they come from this small town. And people are going to be like, oh, shit.
Yes.
Yeah, they deserve everything and more.
Absolutely.
Because they're just like me.
Totally.
We're not as different as we think we are.
We are not as different. It's so funny, like when I'll talk about my relationship, and I've never been in a room where people have been like, yeah, that's just not how we function. Like we as a straight couple are very different than y'all as a same-sex couple. And I'm like, yeah, that's never how it goes. It's like, oh yeah, me and my husband fight the same way y'all do. Or me and my husband go through the same, or my husband pulls me through this like your fiance pulls you through that. And it's just like, yeah, it's love is colorblind, it's gender blind. Like when you fall in love, like the real stuff, you don't choose that. Like it is a full out of body experience where your heart just completely takes over and you just have to go with it and you just have to trust it. And, the more and more we just really go, that's a person behind whatever this fear is, whatever this phobia is. The more that we're all just going to realize, like, yeah, we're exactly the same.
I 100% agree, and I love that so much. You wrote a song about that. Is it Got No Choice?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that, I was listening to that on the way here. It's a freaking jam. You guys should all check it out if you're listening right now. But that's kind of like the theme of that is like, when you're in love, like for real, you don't get to be like, oh, I'll just turn it off. Like, it's just the way that it is, and that song captures that really, really well. What was it like writing that song? And is that like, were you and Hillary together when you wrote that song? Is that like for her, your experience with her?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was going through the hardest time of my life when I wrote that song. I was being told by the higher ups in my life, people who are no longer on my team, that basically I could be in a relationship with Hillary or I could have a career in country music, but I couldn't have both. And if I did want to stay with Hillary, that we had to keep it completely under wraps. So yeah, that's a really terrifying place because here I am. All I wanted my whole entire life was to be a country singer. That is all I ever wanted. And honestly, never saw myself getting married or falling in love or any of those things because I'd never felt that before. So I kind of thought that love was something that you saw in the movies. Like I didn't think that it was something that was actually real that you could experience on earth. Like I just didn't think it was real. I'd never seen it before. So I never saw that for my life. And then my worlds kind of collided because I'm just starting radio tour. I'm just getting ready to release music. I have my whole record label behind me. And at the same time, I meet the love of my life who so happens to be a woman. And it was just like, how are these two parts of my life ever going to coexist? Like, how am I ever going to be able to be in a same-sex relationship and also be a country artist. And I was faced with this kind of like decision of what I was
Yeah.
going to do. And I just remember waking up one morning and the idea "Got No Choice" was in my head. Like, it was just like, I had got no choice but to love you. And I woke up with the melody and the idea of the song "Got No Choice" in the chorus.
Like, did you like wake up and it was just like stuck in your head?
It was stuck in my head as if it was like a song that I had heard before. Yeah.
That's so fun.
It's so fun when that happens, right?
Yeah.
But it was just like, I knew I had to write it. And it was perfect because that same day I had to write with Jesse Frazier, who's my now producer, and Carrie Barlow, who that co-writing team together was who wrote my last radio single, "Act Like You Don't." So I went in with this idea and they both like jumped on it and were like, hell yeah, let's write that. And it was such a therapy session for me because I had been just dealing with this tug of war of my heart. Like, what am I supposed to do? Something, stick with this career that I've fought for and hustled for my whole life, or, continue to fall into this love that I can't stop. And then I was like, hold on a second. Who made this rule that I can only have one or the other?
Yeah.
That's a made up rule, you know? So my answer was, let me tell you that I'm not leaving this person. I don't have the physical or emotional capabilities to leave the love of my life.
Yeah.
And at the same time, put it in a song so I can tell you that I'm not going to choose my career, or I'm not going to choose music or Hillary. I'm going to find a way to make it both happen.
Well, I feel like as we become adults, so much of our journey is like realizing that these things are fake. There's no like, oh, I have to choose this or I have to choose that, or like, well, that would make so-and-so happy or whatever. I think, at least for me in my journey, it sounds like you're the same. It's like, what if I just did exactly what I wanted to do?
Yeah.
And I'm going to go and make myself happy, and the right people will come along. And it sounds like the wrong people left. And that's kind of the beauty of living authentically, is it you turn into this magnet of like, this is who I am, this is what I do. And the wrong people fall off because they don't stick to that anymore. And the right people come flooding towards you. And it sounds like you have the perfect team and this incredible fiance that you couldn't live without now. And that's living authentically. And to me, that's country music. Like, how could you ask somebody, it's actually paradoxical to be like, we want you to be a country music star. We just don't want you to tell your story authentically.
Yes,
like,
totally. Absolutely. It's completely ironic and doesn't make sense at all. And it took me years to realize that, but so happy that I finally did.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did too. I feel like you've been, we were talking before you got on camera, like 8 years in town. How would you say your sound has evolved? Like, I feel like you took some time off. You had some like health issues matched with some label, like transferring, people coming in and out. And so you took some time for a while. During that, I feel like you kind of rebranded.
Totally.
Part of like meeting Hillary, part of trying new stuff sonically, writing wise. Like, how would you describe the Brooke that came to town versus like the Brooke you are now? And what are those differences and what have you found in that process?
Yeah. The Brooke that came to town was a people pleaser. And she was trying to just please everyone around her, which is absolutely impossible. And it was basically like, instead of writing music and creating music that I loved, I was like, what does everybody else want from me? I was like, I can do whatever they want. And then it kind of just coincided with like my whole life and that shift as well. It's like, as soon as I was like, hold on, I'm going to stop pleasing what I think is everybody else and start just like living my life authentically, what music makes me the happiest? And when I thought about it, it was like 60s and 70s soul and country music. And I was like, how do I blend these together? And I had a write with Jesse Frazier, who's my producer, and I was like, hey, I want to do this blending of genres kind of like, you know, all these songs that we dance to at every wedding that we go to are still around for a reason.
Mm.
You know, they bring that soul and that classicness that just is timeless and doesn't go away. And I want to put that into modern day country and mesh my two favorite types of music. And Jesse just like plays 4 chords and it's immediately exactly what I've been hearing in my head. And I think that it was just like, as soon as I stopped trying to please everybody else, I started pleasing people. You know what I mean? Like as soon as I just started doing what I wanted to do, people were like, "Oh, that's really cool."
Yeah.
And man, that's just a lesson that I had to really learn the hard way, is that you can't please everybody. Don't try, and just do you, and life just gets easier.
Yeah. Did you guys play, was it like Jackson 5 or something during the show? Or you did like a little Motown moment, or?
We played Walking After Midnight by Patsy Cline. We actually use Walking After Midnight as a sample in one of my songs called
That's
Risk It All.
amazing.
I just, I grew up with Patsy Cline.
Yeah.
I grew up listening to her. And then we did Etta James at last.
That's what it was. That's what it was. I
Yes.
was like, what was the throwback that was so good? And the second you rocked into it, I was like, oh, I get it. Because it is this like soulful country.
Yeah.
It has a very vintage, but like reimagined vibe. And like everything you described to me here, I was describing to my manager backstage. I was like, I think what they're trying to do is this and this and this. So it's cool. Like, we're on the same page. Not that you need my approval for what you're doing, but I freaking love it. It's awesome.
Thank
and
you.
it's really cool because I feel like there's a lane for it. There isn't somebody in our genre doing it. I feel like it's a really interesting Frankenstein of genres because I love that era of music and I love the way that it makes you feel.
Absolutely.
100%. What does like success in music look like to you? You've done some really cool stuff as we're talking, like you sang with Trisha Yearwood at the Opry.
Yeah.
So a lot of people could say, you did it.
You
You're
did
on the
it.
mountain. Like you go home. You did the dang thing.
Totally.
What is success to you in country music, in music? You know, are there certain things that you have on your vision board or your like bucket list that you're like, when I get there, I made it?
Yeah. I've always said, like, I know that there's always room to go up, right?
Mhm.
So like, unless you have a bar on that, you're always striving for somewhere that you're not yet. And that sounds exhausting to me. So I'm like, where does happiness and success meet for me? And for me, that is being on a tour bus where my family can come out and be on the road with me, where Hillary can be there and however many gaggle of children that we end up with can be there, and we can raise our family together. And then also my band can be on salary. My team can be on salary and know how they're going to take care of their families. So that's my bar of success, is
incredible.
When we can all be out on the road happily, making enough money to take care of our families and making music. I mean, it's very simple to me.
No, I love that. And I feel like what I like about it is that you can enjoy process in that. Like that is more a process goal. Like I just want to enjoy having my people getting taken care of.
Yeah.
Like for me, when I talk about playing a stadium, that's my big goal. And it sounds like you have a similar mindset of like, I want to do big things. I want to tackle some of the bigger things in music in our genre. But it isn't like just to do it. It's to do it with your people. It's to enjoy the process. Go into the right and have somebody play 4 chords and like, that spoke to me. You did it. You said what I wanted to say. So it sounds like process is a part of that goal then.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that what I've realized is like, if you have, you know, if you're like, I really want to win Female Vocalist of the Year at the ACMs or whatever, like you're just looking to get your heart broke over and over again.
Too, though. Like, who's it for?
Who's
is
it for?
To have that to just say like, do you guys love me yet?
Yes.
Or is it like, that's incredible and I'm so thankful, but like, did I enjoy getting to that place?
Yes, totally. I am so in for the hustle of putting in the time and putting in the work and creating music that makes people feel less alone. However, I'm not in the rat. I don't want to be in the rat race. I don't want to look at another female artist and think that I'm up against her, because that's not what this is.
No.
We're all paving our own lanes here. And if you're not paving your own lane, then you're probably not doing something right, you know? So, I want to be a part of this change in country music where everyone feels like they're a part. You know, it's no longer, like you said, white and
male, pale, stale.
Male, pale, stale. I've never heard that before. That's hilarious, by the way. But like, I want to be a part of making it feel, or making people feel welcome in our genre. No matter what color you are, no matter what your ethnicity is, no matter who you love, no matter where you come from. Are you from a city? Cool, you can come. You know, it's like, I just want to be continue to be a part of this inclusiveness in country music, and that's another part of it, you know?
Absolutely. And I think you're doing such a good job of that. Like, I think what breaks my heart is to think of like a gay kid or a black kid or like not kid that looks like me or whatever, like that he would feel left out of our genre, because to me, country music, what is so special about it is it's telling everyone's story.
Yeah.
We're kind of all from the same small town. You know, we've all said that or heard that. Like, we all have kind of been through this same upbringing, and we've had the same trials and tribulations. We all get our heart broken. We all fall in love. And country music describes that. And if somebody out there was like, it felt like they were on the out group of that would break my heart. And that's why I think it's so cool to have people like you who are crushing it, not only because you're a great human, but then the music's that good. And then there's some little girl in Florida who maybe feels a little bit different in whatever way. Yeah. And she's like, you know what? I feel like maybe I'm invited to this party.
Yes.
That's so powerful.
You're invited to the party.
You're invited to the party.
Yeah, it's such a huge part of life, is to feel invited to the party, you know? And I want people to feel that way.
Yeah. How's your work-life balance now? Like, you're coming out of quarantine, where we all didn't do shit for a year. Yeah. Now you're kind of ramping up. There's shows, there's press, there's photo shoots, how long do we have to do the artist checklist? Yeah. What does that look like for you, especially now, post-quarantine? It's a rather steep exponential curve of like getting thrown back into the water.
Yeah. Well, I will say that 2020 for me consisted a lot of, we were writing for the EP that I just put out and recording, and then gearing up for February when I started putting out music. So it was kind of like this slow ramp, but I love working. Like I thrive when I have a million things going on. And so I was so excited to get back to work. And, you know, what's cool about like my work life balance is that my fiance is also in music. So she's got a 9-to-5 at home, and I also work from home sometimes. So it's like, we both know like this is working hours, you know, we're working during this time. We're going to put in the time and, you know, do what we do. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that my work-life balance is better than it's ever been now, because it's like, I know that in order to have one, I have to have the other. You know, in order for me to write music, I have to live. Yeah. You know, and for so long, I just was like, work. And then your well is dry and you have nothing to say. Yeah. And so, to me, it's so important to have that balance of like, hey, I'm going to work really hard, but I'm also going to allow myself to relax and allow myself to have time with my friends and my family and my partner so that we can, you know, live.
Yeah, well, that's how you wake up with a song stuck in your head. Yes. Like, I love my life. Yes. Why do I love my life? I love my partner. Looks like I don't have a choice. Song.
A song. Totally. Yeah.
Okay, I'm opening this drawer. Okay. Because I'm about to enter my favorite part of the pod, which is, you know, the show's called Why Are We Here? So I like to ask some of just the larger questions in the universe. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It's just the weird shit.
I like it.
We'll get into it. Let's see. I need a little shuffle because I don't want to ask the same questions. Ask the last person here. So here we are. Okay. This is me shuffling, folks, if you're listening in your car on the treadmill. All right, here we go. First, why are we here question. If you could share a meal with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
Oh, wow. Gosh, that's really hard because there's a lot of interesting people on this earth. Okay, well, not shockingly enough, it's 3 female singers. Patsy Cline, Etta James, and Whitney Houston.
Oh, you hit me with Whitney. You got me at Whitney.
Hit me with Whitney.
Oh, she's
yeah.
the best, literally.
She's the best. Those are just 3 artists that I feel sing and sang. They're all gone, sadly. With such soul and like such emotion that you know that they had gone through some shit.
Yeah.
You know? And I would just want to have so many questions.
Yeah.
You know, like, how did you sing like that? And why did you sing like that?
Yeah.
And, you know, just kind of talk through life and like what made them who they are.
No, I love that. I think if that were to happen, I better be invited to this. Okay, if God could answer one question for you, what would it be?
Who made you?
I think about that all the time.
Me too.
There's a creator. Who created the creator?
Yes.
What are we talking about here, people?
Oh my gosh. It's like, I think that it's just because all that we know is being created. And so we're like, hold on. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, but like also who created God? Like,
Yeah, if there's a puppeteer, like, okay, so is that person in a separate universe where there's a puppeteer puppeteering the puppeteer?
yeah, and then where did that puppeteer
Exactly.
come from? You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I got into, you ever just have this? You're like sitting at home watching like Outer Banks or something.
yeah.
And one of these intrusive, like, who created God? And you just spiral like existential crises. That's my life.
Like a rabbit hole.
Yes.
Like a rabbit hole that has no end because there's no answer.
Literally. That's what kills me. That's why I love the show. I love the premise of the show is because I love to ask people stuff because I feel like so dumb. I feel so like I don't know anything because these questions you'll never have an answer to, and it kills me.
Yeah.
So maybe all this show is me trying to ask unanswerable questions, but I love to hear people's takes on it. And that's exactly what I always think about. I'm like, no, where do you come from, motherfucker? Like,
Yes.
who's your God or who's your creator or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's that question to me is just, oh, please answer that. And also, I have another one. Do dogs go to heaven? And also, why does he let babies get cancer? Like,
Those are the
hard questions. Like, if everything is, you know, like if you have our lives all planned out, why do you give some people lives like we live and then you give some people that kind of a life?
Yeah,
Like,
it
why are
kills
we
me.
the lucky ones, you know?
Yeah, I think about it all the time. Like, I feel like I won the lottery in
Yeah.
so many ways. Like, if you're just talking about my parents, if you're talking about all the privileges, again, like white, straight male born in America in the 2000s who got the internet and who has a cell phone. And
Yeah.
I mean, crazy. And then you look at the people who have lived lives of struggle. Just every day is a
Constant
beating.
struggle.
And
yeah.
like, why is that allowed? And I know, at least where I came from growing up, I grew up traditional Christian. So like, I can tell you the explanation that I was given, which is like, you know, you have to have free will and all these things. And I understand it intellectually, but like my heart doesn't get it still.
Yeah.
And it really is so perplexing.
It
hurts
really
my
is.
brain.
I know. My empathy just like comes out so hard. And
Yes, exactly.
wants to just ask those hard questions.
Yeah, and it comes down to fairness. I think for me, I'm always like, but that's not fair. Which I don't know if that's even like, that's probably a human construct or whatever. This creator is probably like, well, you don't see the whole picture
Yeah.
or whatever, but still, I want the answer. I want to ask
need
that
the
one
answer.
too.
Yes.
Okay, who is it in your life that you could never leave out of an acceptance speech?
Hillary, my fiance. Yeah.
Okay, you're holding the Grammy for Best Musical Person, and you got to say something. What's comes to mind
Oh my gosh. I mean,
about Hillary, obviously?
honestly, she's just, there have been so many times when I've just been like, am I good enough for this? You know, like, do I keep going? There's just been so many times that you get knocked down and you wonder, like, am I supposed to get back up? Or is this like the universe telling me to like move on?
Yeah.
There's been so many times that I have tried to give up on myself and she doesn't let me. And like the only reason that I would be standing up on that stage is because she didn't let me quit. So I would probably thank her for not letting me quit.
My glasses are fogging up. We're going to move on to the next question. I'm not crying. You're crying. Have you ever experienced, let's try again. Have you ever had an experience that you can't explain? If so, what was it?
Yeah. I was driving from my hometown back to my college town. I think I was like a junior.
Did you go to Florida?
I'm from Florida. Yeah, I went to University of
college?
Florida.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, fun times. And I think it was like a sophomore actually, because I had older girls, like my older sorority sisters in the car with me. And we were driving from South Florida to Central Florida back to Gainesville. And I was on the turnpike and it was raining and I had my cruise control on. Well, I didn't realize that you should not have your cruise control on while it's raining. So PSA.
Folks at home.
Turn off your cruise control if it starts raining because it messes with your brakes.
Yeah.
And I was in the fast lane and there was a car that stopped really abruptly in front of me. And to get away from hitting the car, I like went to go right and my entire car fishtailed and we spun 3 times across the highway, like the interstate. And as we're turning, we see cars coming toward us, but we didn't get hit. And we just ended up on the side of the road going the right direction, untouched.
Gosh, that's crazy.
And it was almost like this moment of God reminding us that we could have been gone so quickly. Like life is so fragile. And it was just like, there's no explaining how we didn't get hit. We crossed 4 lanes of traffic.
Been hit hard.
Yeah. We crossed 4 lanes of traffic. Like when in the existence of existing has there been a time when a car has literally spun like past 4 lanes of traffic. And not gotten hit by another car. And it was just like, I mean, if there weren't other people in the car with me that day, I don't know if I would like really believe that it happened to think back. You know?
That's wild.
And it did. It's just, that was an unexplainable moment. Like, how are we all sitting here in one piece?
That's a good one. Those are spooky. I got goosebumps.
Wow.
What do you think your superpower is?
Ooh, my superpower. Oh, I know this. Parking.
Oh, Master Parker.
Hill will always like be like, okay, give me your parking juju when we're looking for a parking space because it always happens that there's a full parking lot and just as we come in, there's someone getting in their car to leave. And I have great parking juju.
I'm now following you through all parking lots, wherever we go.
Yeah.
Are you like, can you parallel park? Are you like?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, nice.
I'm great at parallel parking.
I will then ask you to parallel park
your car?
Absolutely.
I got you, bud. I got you.
Yeah, not for me. If you could add anything into your life right now, what would it be and why?
If I could add anything into my life. Oh my God, Spencer.
Plate.
I don't know that I would add anything into my life right now.
I can't imagine you can.
No. I'm like, well, we're
okay,
really...
let's flip it. If you could take something out of your life.
Could take something out of my life.
Or to rephrase the question, like, what is the part of your day that you go like, oh, I have to do this. Not that I'm not grateful or whatever, but like, it's not my thing. If somebody could take it, or if I could like, use the click remote and just fast forward through it. Is there anything like that?
I don't know that I have that. I don't know
That's
that I
really
have
good.
something that I would want to take out.
And that's a very acceptable, beautiful answer. That's the answer I hope for when I ask the question. Yeah.
I mean, I'll let you know if I think of anything, but like I truly can't. I feel like Yeah, days are pretty great.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Who is your hero?
Who's my hero? Musically in life?
Let's go. Let's do give me a country music Mount Rushmore. I'm always really curious. Like, and this is a big one. And let's just put some disclaimers. Doesn't mean the people off the list aren't incredible. 'Cause
Yeah.
I always get yelled at people like, you didn't have George Strait on your. I'm like, I know. I like this person. He did it for me or whatever, that song.
Yeah.
So like, disclaimer ahead. Mount Rushmore of country music. Who do you got? And it could be, you could put a group up there as well. It's 4 slots.
Oh, 4 slots, huh?
Right? Isn't there 4 people on Mount Rushmore? Guys? Anyway?
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I see what you're doing there.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
Dolly Parton. I love that she always owned exactly who she was.
Talk about authentic.
Yes.
Like before it was cool.
Before authenticity was cool.
Just herself.
She just never apologized for being 100% her.
Literally.
And I love that so much. Okay.
We got
Garth
Dolly.
Brooks. Hate
Garth.
to like always talk about Garth, but honestly,
It's unavoidable.
He's unavoidable. He is like as a human, as like a philanthropist, as an artist.
Yeah.
You know, just everything he does, he can stand behind wholeheartedly. It's just yeah. Okay. Shania Twain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hit me with the Shania.
I love that when she came in the 90s, she didn't have a country accent.
Yeah.
And that was like, everybody had a country accent, you know?
Yeah.
She came in, everyone at the time was like, this isn't country. And then she completely changed the landscape
Now
of
she's
country
literally
music.
played on every pedal tavern for eternity at every
Yes,
second.
exactly.
Yeah. Got one more slot.
I know. Probably the Chicks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are they pretty influential on you as a singer?
So influential on me as a singer. I mean, especially Natalie Maines
Mm-hmm.
as a lead singer. Just her voice was always just like so unapologetic.
Mm-hmm.
Like she never tried to tame her voice or like it just was always so powerful and she was never afraid to say how she felt either.
Yeah.
And I love somebody who isn't afraid to say
100%.
what they feel.
I felt like some of the country I saw growing up on the female side was like part of the branding was almost this like a meekness or like I'm just here not to cause any problems or whatever.
Mhm.
And the Chicks were so like
Tell it like
we are
it is.
badasses.
Yes.
They have a song about murdering somebody. You have to
Mhm.
have a certain just oomph. Like,
audacity.
to do that. Yes.
Like they had the audacity to like go out and just say what they felt. And yeah, you're so right. There was no meekness there.
No,
It was
they're
like,
no, we're
this is-
badasses. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
like downplay who I am. I rock. Shania Twain said, "You're Brad Pitt. That don't impress me much."
yeah.
What the hell? Brad Pitt's the best looking man of all time. She said, I don't care. You're still
don't
not
care.
enough for me, Brad.
No,
That's, you gotta, yeah, that's a great Mount Rushmore. Respect.
Yeah. Thank you.
A lot of respect.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like that. What has been your favorite age so far?
Right now.
Why?
There's something about your 30s where this like flip switches. And it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier about people pleasing. But for me, I just stopped caring about shit that didn't matter. And it leaves so much more room and energy for the things in life that do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's so funny. People talk about like, oh, I wish I could go back to college or I wish I was still in my 20s or whatever. And I don't want to go back. Like, I don't think you could pay me enough to go back to my 20s. And I feel wiser. And I feel just happier than I've ever been because I've asked myself what makes me happy. And if
Yeah.
you just follow that path for yourself and stop asking what makes everybody else happy, but what makes you happy, it's going to make your life so much easier and it just uncomplicates so many things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm one of those, you know, I know a lot of people are worried about getting older. I'm not for whatever
Yeah.
reason. I'm excited to grow and learn more and be around more people and just get more out of what this life can give, you know?
I love that. 100%. I always felt like when I was a kid going to sleepovers, I would go talk to the parents more than my friends sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And I just always felt slightly like older, that I wanted to be older.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends were like, dude, these are the days.
Yeah.
We're 15. We got to soak it in. And I'm like, are these the days? Are these really the days? And I think the older that I get, 0 to 18, you're in practice mode.
Mm-hmm.
You're learning how to be a human, like bare minimum.
Yeah.
20s is like, who am I? And then I think what I've heard is that your 30s like, oh, I know who I am. So I know what makes me happy. I know how to say no.
Yes.
I know, like, if you have a definition of who you are, then you know what you're not.
Yes.
And it makes life so much easier.
Oh, it really does. It's just so much more simple, and you overthink things so much less. And yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful to get to be 32 in life, you know, and
how lucky,
to get here.
You know, to get to another age. Every birthday I have, I'm like, there's a lot of people who never got to turn 26, 27. Like, that is a privilege. It's interesting.
It is.
When you frame
it is
like
a privilege in that way. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I like this one. Do you have a mission statement or like a mantra? Like, do you have something that you say every day, or that you like, that you get tattooed on you?
Yeah. Well,
Or
I
that you have
don't have any tattoos, but we did get a neon sign that is above my piano in our house that says, "The braver you are, the luckier you get."
Ooh.
Yeah.
Got snaps for that one. That is so good.
I read that in a book. I read this book called Untamed by Glennon Doyle. You know Glennon Doyle?
Oh, I know Glennon Doyle.
Oh my
That's
God.
one of the best books. I like, am constantly trying to get guys to read it.
Yes.
Because I'm like, do not be tricked by like that it's one of the best books ever, but it especially women post about it and use it because it's so freeing for women. I'm like, no, this is a human book.
Yes.
You need to read this book.
Yes.
I'm like, my brothers, my dad, I'm like, read this.
It's
so
genderless.
good. It's
Don't be fooled by the glitter cover.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's what I was trying to say is like, yes, some of the ways that like, you are a cheetah girl. It's like, yes, but also dad or like friend.
Yes.
You should read this book because it really has those messages. I didn't know that's
really
what that
does.
was from. Maybe that's why I loved it so much.
Maybe you loved it so much,
inside
right?
of me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that book seriously changed my life. I read it during the pandemic, and I still wasn't fully out at that point. Never knew if I would ever be brave enough to be fully out. And I read this chapter that she had about integrity, and, you know, she defined it as integrity is when you are the same on the outside and you project to the outside who you are in your house. And I realized that I had absolutely no integrity. I was living one way inside my house and with my friends and close family. And then I was living a completely different life as an artist in my career. And I just was like, why am I living this way? And right after that paragraph, she said, the braver you are, the luckier you get. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I called my manager that day and was like, hey, so I know that we've talked about me possibly coming out at some point, but like, I have to do it ASAP.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait around for this anymore. Like, I can't like shy away from this anymore. I'm an all in or all out type of person. And if I'm gonna get lucky in this life, if I'm gonna shoot for the stars in this life, I have to be brave. I can't shy away from who I am as a human. And I mean, it just got me. It really changed my life so much so that it's now what I live by. Anytime I'm scared to make a leap or to take a step, I remind myself, the braver you are, the luckier you get.
Oh, so good. That is incredible. And I think that's the kind of like little nugget that I hope, like when I listen to podcasts, I'm waiting for like a moment like that. And that's the moment.
That's the
it
nugget.
Right there. It's so good. And I especially as like, it's interesting to know how our art or our work influences people. And like the fact that you read a paragraph or that page
Yeah.
And now you're different.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Like we have the opportunity to do that too with like 3 minutes or
Absolutely.
even something like this. I really believe that like somebody could listen to this hour-long conversation and be like, well, shit, I need to just be truthful to myself or authentic. Like it's really cool. And I think we live in a really cool time where like the internet, like that's how I heard about that book. I just saw people posting about it. And
Same.
it's just a cool time to be alive.
It is a cool time to be alive. So much is changing right now, and there's no status quo anymore.
No, isn't that fun?
It's just out the window.
feel
We're
like-
creating a new status quo right now.
That's 100%. That's it.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more question.
Okay.
Here it is. What is a detail about your story that nobody knows or that very few people know?
Man, I'm a pretty open book. My whole point of being this open and honest was to hopefully help other people feel like they're not the only one going through something. And I was such a closed book the first time around when I came out with music because I had so much to hide, or I thought I had so much to hide. And this time around, I really, made it intentional to be as open as I possibly can and talk about the hard stuff. And as much as my life is so good and so happy and sunshiny now, to also not just talk about that, but to also talk about the journey to get there. So, I mean, it's hard to say because I feel like I just am just very open about my life
I
and
love
the
that
hardships
answer.
as well.
I don't even want a detail because I think that is my favorite kind of person, especially in today's day and age where like it's all Instagram highlight reels, or it could be. Like we could all get on TikTok and we could all get on Instagram and just pretend like we don't have any problems. And people will eat that shit up because we have this weird thing where we want to see people like, oh, well, they don't have problems, so maybe that's a possibility. But I actually think that we really resonate, which this whole conversation has been centered, to me, it's been centered around the word authenticity.
Yeah.
Which is, how do you make someone feel like they're not alone? I think solidarity is underrated. Just to sit with someone and say, yeah, isn't this shit hard?
Yeah.
Same. Oh God, let me tell you about my most embarrassing moment.
Yeah.
Here's my coming out story. Here's my, I've been here for 8 years, and so I did this, and I did this, and I did this. All of a sudden, you give someone permission to go, well, if they could do it, maybe I could do it. And that's incredible. And that's what I have loved talking to you about, is because I feel like you are such an open book, and this has been awesome. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Spencer. This is so fun.
Of course. Well, guys, that's another episode of Why Are We Here? Thank you so much for watching. Hit that old subscribe button. We're looking for new friends, so join us on the ride. Brooke, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much.
Love you, Spence.
Why are we here?